Hello and welcome to Sean White's Solar and Energy Storage Podcast.
Today our favorite guest is Solar Steve Sherman, the rapper. Yo, what's up, Solar Steve Sherman, the rapper?
Hey everyone, Solar Steve Sherman here. Rapper by night, but solar energy systems engineer, NABCEP PVIP by day. Great to be here, Sean. Thank you.
Yeah, and it's kind of fun that you have these songs that you made that are all about solar and stuff like that. How about just like saying the names of some of your songs?
Yeah, so I love solar and batteries and energy so much that I wanted to tell the world about it, and I thought some good old AI generated rap would be a fun way to do so. So I'm working on a mixtape, little preview today. Current songs I have are Solar Cruisin'.
Panels on the roof, got the juice from the sky. Rolling through the canyon, never need to buy. No gas, no guilt, just glide and chill. With that infinite charge, I'm climbing a hill.
So EV driving on the sun. Interconnected.
Let's get it collected. Solar on the block, we're all interconnected. Batteries charged, that's how we're protected. The people got the power and we won't be neglected.
Partly about the interconnection process to connect clean energy to our grid, but also more broadly how we're all connected together as one on this planet Earth.
Kumbaya!
Yeah, kind of a motivational song called Running with the Sun, just about life's journeys and obstacles we run into. But whether you're a gazelle or a lion, when that sun comes up, you better be running and working towards those goals.
Yeah, I thought that was pretty cool listening to some of your songs, and I was listening to them for a while. And what's your favorite song that you wrote?
So far, probably Interconnected. There's just something about it that's catchy and fun and lighthearted. You know, power to the people, teaming up as one. I'm all about distributed energy systems, so that one really resonated with me. And then a funky beat and something you don't hear every day, which is awesome.
Right. So maybe what we'll do too is we will steal your song. We don't care about if you have copyright, sue me, and we're going to play it at the end of the podcast. Does that sound okay with you? Because even if it's not okay,
that sounds great.
Even if it's not okay, we're going to do it anyway. Solar Steve Sherman of Superior Energy.
You got it. No lawsuit threats whatsoever. Let's play them and spread the word.
Okay, yeah, we don't need any solar attorneys getting on our cases. But anyway, so that's kind of cool. And how about telling us about your journey through the solar industry? I know that you're up there in Michigan, and so that would be having something to do with the name of your company, Superior Energy, and Lake Superior up there. Do you ever go swimming in Lake Superior?
Yes, any chance I get. So Michigan is home for me. We're the Great Lakes state. Lake Superior, I forget the exact stat, but gigantic body of fresh water. It's part of the Upper Peninsula in Michigan. We've got two pleasant peninsulas here. I live in Ann Arbor, which is a little more in southeast Michigan, kind of metro Detroit. But really, any chance I get to go to the Upper Peninsula and just experience its beauty and its pristine nature, I love it. The lake is pretty cold most of the year, but there's about a month-long window when you can go swimming in it, and I've done that a number of times.
Okay, so the Upper Peninsula or the Lower Peninsula, which one's good and which one sucks?
They're both awesome. However, we have Paradise, Michigan in the Upper Peninsula, and then there's a tiny town called Hell in the Lower Peninsula.
Really?
So
Have you ever been to Hell and back?
I've been to Hell many times. I've got a great friend from college who has a place there. It's kind of a small lake town, but don't let the name scare you away. It's a great place to stop.
Are there any Christians there, you think?
You know,
is there like a Hell church?
No, it's too small to have a church. It has a post office and an ice cream store, and that's about it.
Do they have good solar there? Is that what brought you there? Is the solar?
Originally, no. But now that you mention it, there are quite a few houses along the lake that have 5 kilowatt or so arrays. And
that's hella cool.
Yes, it's a good spot.
All right. Well, we could go on and on about making hell jokes, and I'll try to stop doing that, but it's so tempting to be doing that ongoing. But we got to talk about solar. So, yeah, tell us about your solar journey.
Yeah. So born and raised in Michigan, like I mentioned, studied engineering and entrepreneurship in college.
Oh, yeah. By the way, that's how I met you. because the founder of HeatSpring, Brian Hayden, is also in Ann Arbor, and he introduced us.
Yes, very thankful for that and his great HeatSpring platform that brought us together. Brian's an awesome dude, and everyone should take many HeatSpring courses.
For sure.
So, studied energy systems engineering and entrepreneurship in college and fell in love with energy systems engineering. I remember covering the terawatt problem of global energy consumption, just how big of a problem energy and climate is for the 21st century, and really activated my passion in that space a little over a decade ago. Immediately out of school, like many Michiganders, I went into the automotive industry. We are the Motor City, and General Motors is headquartered here still, so it's a natural path. There, I got to work in fuel economy and then electric vehicles, aka giant batteries on wheels. So it gave me a lot of experience in the energy side of things, specifically mobility. Then I worked at a high-tech battery manufacturing startup called Our Next Energy. They were trying to manufacture battery cells in Michigan, had some really cool technology, including a dual chemistry battery with super far range. That was a startup.
Dual chemistry, what does that mean?
Yeah, so one of One's key technologies was their ability to integrate two different types of battery cells in a single pack and kind of handle the controls and voltages, state of charge, everything that goes into a battery, and be able to manage that. And essentially, one battery was LFP, lithium ferrophosphate, very durable, very safe. That was designed for daily driving. And then they had a novel, more energy dense battery chemistry that was essentially used as a range extender. So most of the time, people aren't getting in their car and driving across the USA. So most of the time, the LFP is doing the driving, but you have this more energy dense kind of secondary battery for those longer road trips.
Mm-hmm. So LFP was one of the chemistries. What was the other chemistry?
Through not recalling the details and probably being proprietary and top secret, I don't recall. It was lithium based. I think it had some manganese in it.
Oh, so like maybe it was NMC. So those are like both types of lithium ion batteries, but they work at different voltages. LFP's voltage is a little bit less than the NMC voltage, but that's kind of interesting how they would put them in the same pack. And I guess they would probably have something like different DC to DC converters in the same pack?
Correct. That was their invention, and some of the novelty was around the DC to DC conversion and handling that. A lot of good things to say about that company. Their website's one.ai if anyone wants to check it out. And the brand name of that product is Gemini. So dual chemistry battery.
All kinds of AI Gemini stuff going on. Yeah.
I guess so.
All right. So I kind of interrupted you. You were talking about other stuff that you'd been doing too?
Yeah. One was a very important chapter in my career. Very thankful for my time there. I worked on all kinds of awesome projects, including residential energy storage, and actually had an opportunity to go to Tanzania and Mozambique, Southeast Africa, and study why nearly 1 billion people still live without access to electricity. So lots to say on that. So was at One for almost 2 years. Unfortunately, company had to do some reorganization. So I found myself a solo entrepreneur again. And I knew I loved the energy space and kind of took the challenge as an opportunity and started Superior Energy, quickly jumped on getting my NABCEP PVIP certification.
How did you do that? How did you get your NABCEP PVIP?
Through good old HeatSpring and taking your course. Yeah.
Woo-hoo.
Awesome time. Super fun.
Yep. Thanks. And so what was your experience with the PVIP? That's the PV Installation Professional Certification Exam. That is the best PV certification in the universe.
I agree. It is the best certification in the universe. I wish everyone could recognize how great and proficient its board certified members are. It really is top notch. I had a solid 10 years in energy systems engineering through various channels I mentioned. And I kind of went into the course I was excited for it, but I was not expecting to learn as much as I did, decoding the National Electrical Code, permitting and interconnections, just the many details that matter for photovoltaic and energy storage system design and engineering. I was, pretty proficient before, I like to think, but really just gave me tremendous confidence that I can do this stuff. It can work. It can be safe. I understand every aspect of it. And I got to give you a shout, of course, Sean. I did a lot of my studying at night, and NEC can be pretty dry, but to have your personality and the jokes and just your comments and stories, it made it an awesome time. So everyone, go get your PVIP.
All right. Yeah, life's too important to be sitting around studying, being bored. You might as well sit around and study and have a great time. I remember when I was younger, when I got my first traffic ticket, I went to a laugh and learn traffic school. And so I guess you could say I was sort of inspired by that when making my classes kind of fun, taking like super boring, dry stuff and just making fun of it, which also makes it more memorable. So
I couldn't agree more. I've got to work on my humor probably, but I do love teaching this stuff as well. And I think you've given me a lot of inspiration for the future.
Great. Yeah, so we first met in person. I think it was the last NABCEP conference over in Reno? And I remember that you have this invention. And so you're an entrepreneur. You studied entrepreneurship. Did you study entrepreneurship through Brian Hayden? Is that how you met him? I know he teaches a class on entrepreneurship over there in Michigan.
You got it. Michigan's got a great entrepreneurial ecosystem and network. And I was fortunate to connect with Brian probably during that program. I don't remember the exact meeting. And we've known each other for a solid 10 years now. If anything, I wish I could go back and take his heat spring NABCEP course sooner. But as you know, life doesn't always go in a straight path. But yes, I'm an entrepreneur. I had the pleasure of bringing a prototype I'm working on and happy to discuss to the NABCEP Reno conference and get a lot of feedback on it. The short pitch is I'm trying to put a battery or an energy storage system on every home. And I think the way we currently install them, I don't see it scaling to every house. It's just too bespoke and a little too costly. So essentially I have an invention for a smaller battery, but a much cheaper one that can integrate in every home.
Wow, cool. Do you want to tell us more about that?
Yeah, in a sense, it's integrating energy storage at a utility meter. As our listeners probably know, every home in the US has a utility meter on it. It's where you transition from kind of the utility jurisdiction to the homeowner, and it's where you enter the home's load center. So my invention essentially is a novel way of integrating an AC coupled energy storage system at that location. It's a 6 kilowatt hour battery, which we'll talk on the G of that in a moment. It includes the disconnect that many utilities require. And essentially the thesis is there are a lot of soft costs with installing home batteries, home energy storage systems. It's things like, how do you get a 300-pound Tesla Powerwall down into someone's basement to integrate in their load center? Most of our load centers are in basements in Michigan. Other soft costs with permitting and regulators worrying LFP is going to spontaneously combust in everyone's home. So essentially,
Hate it when that happens.
Yeah, me too. So essentially just looking at kind of how batteries are installed today and thinking creatively to see, is there a more repeatable, scalable, standardized, kind of strategic way to install them in a home? And my thinking is we don't need a giant battery in every home. There's certainly a lot of benefits of that. I've got some big batteries at my house, but I think if everyone had even a small battery on their home and they were coordinated together, the grid would be much more stable and supported. You know, we could avoid building natural gas peaker plants that are expensive and dirty. We have just kind of these flexible, very obedient, two-way distributed energy resources that are coordinated together to support the grid. I mean, places like California have negative electricity prices since they have so much PV. wouldn't it be awesome to have all these batteries on everyone's house, soak up the sun, and get paid for it? And then they can turn on in the evening and avoid that peaker plant coming on. So yeah, lots more to talk about, but that's kind of the pitch of it, if you will.
Yeah, and so when I first saw it, when you showed me the prototype, and we've talked about it other times too, it was more like something that goes, it has like a meter in it. And so is it a replacement of the regular utility meter? Is it like something it's just like one box that has actual battery cells in it and an enclosure, and it holds the utility meter? Does that sound right?
Yeah, you're spot on. So it's the utility meter, the socket that plugs into, which residential meters, the current actually passes through them. I'm sure you know that, Sean. It's the enclosure. It's less so raw battery cells. Let's call it a battery module. So it has some protection in it. The inverter, overcurrent protection, of course, and a knife blade disconnect, which utilities in Michigan require, and I know many other jurisdictions do as well. And yeah, you're spot on. It's essentially supposed to be an integrated, almost invisible to the consumer energy storage system. I love batteries. I think they're super sexy, but talk to most homeowners, especially in the Midwest, electricity is still a utility. And as long as the lights are on and their bills stay low, they don't really care kind of about the mechanisms of how it's working. So as we get out of kind of the early adopters of batteries and thinking about how we scale them to every home, see it as a solution to enable that.
Yeah, it seems to me too that you could have something like that owned by the utility, like it's at the meter. And so a utility might want to say, own it. They might want to go, okay, customers, we're going to put this at your house for free. We're going to have a little bit of backup for you. And then they can use those batteries to condition the grid. And they could have it all on the other side of the meter too.
Yeah, you're spot on, Sean.
And then also, if the utility owns it, there's an argument too that it wouldn't need to go through all kinds of permitting that we're used to. It wouldn't need to go through all the same types of testing and things like that, like the same UL testing. I'm sure you would want to have a go through all that anyway, but utilities have a different set of rules.
Absolutely, Sean. That actually is the game plan and the business model I'm investigating. You were spot on that utilities in many states, they are monopoly electricity providers, and what they say goes. And we're kind of, I guess, graced by the ability to ask for their permission to install PV and energy storage on our homes through interconnection. And a lot of times that causes many challenges and delays and slowdowns. And rather than fight them each and every time, I'd rather join them and sell them a scalable battery product. You know, I'd love it if they buy it by the millions, roll it out to every home, you know, kind of similar to smart meters. And I think a lot of utilities could use a refresh on the customer experience. Things like you said, hey, there's some resiliency this can provide you. It's designed to be a 6 kilowatt hour battery. A fridge uses about 2 kilowatt hours a day. Many people don't like throwing away food in their fridge just because there's a 1 or 2 day outage. Lighting, especially with efficient LEDs, don't use a whole lot of power. So it's kind of designed for benefiting the homeowner with resiliency and also benefiting the grid, as we talked about, with that daily cycling, avoiding on-peak usage. So I just want a battery in every house, because it provides a better customer experience for the homeowner and the grid.
So all of us have our good ideas on good days and things like that. But it seems to me like I've had lots of ideas of things like, oh, this would be great. It's difficult to develop something. So like I had this other idea and I met somebody that develops these kinds of ideas, and I talked to him about it and I told him my idea. And how do I know that they're not going to just take my idea? And I used to be more standoffish about that, but now I'm at a point where it's like, well, if they do it, at least it gets done. You know, like, what do? Keep it a secret for your whole life, or tell somebody?
Tell everyone and the billions of people that listen to Sean White's Solar and Energy Storage podcast. No, you're spot on, Sean. This is actually a good entrepreneurial lesson. The ideas are cheap. It's about the execution of them and the daily, sometimes many years grind of de-risking that idea, both the technical feasibility, but also the business viability and the customer desirability. So that's where the entrepreneur in me comes in. You saw the 3D printed non-functional prototype at the NABCEP conference, and we can include an image in the show notes and whatnot. And then right now I'm working with a small team to develop the functional prototype. So it's kind of the classic story of some guys in a garage tinkering and building some things, and I've been working through that.
Cool. So are you going to be like Hewlett Packard and do all this stuff in a garage, or Apple and all those guys? It's like all these kind of garage startups. You have a garage, I guess.
Yeah, you got it. I live, I guess you could say, out in the country a little bit. So it's part garage, part barn. It is red. It's got lots of PV on the roof. And that's the Superior Energy headquarters supporting the installations we do, but also these more forward-looking kind of research and development type projects like we're talking about.
Cool. Great. So what's the future game plan for this? Are you looking for investors, or what does somebody in your position do to promote an idea like that? And what can I do so if I wanted to steal your idea and promote it faster than you?
Yeah, great question. I'm not actively looking for investors at the moment. However, I would love to start a conversation for anyone that's passionate about the mission I'm on, which again, put a battery in every home. So most of our focus is on de-risking as much of the idea and business around it as we can. So our focus right now is on building the functional prototype, demonstrating it. Proof of concept would be another term for it. And I'm also simultaneously starting conversations with some utilities. So that would be another ask of mine for anyone listening. I would love to talk to progressive utilities. I know there are a few out there with distributed battery programs. Green Mountain Power in Vermont, for example, has one. And then as far as stealing the idea, you're invited to Superior Energy. Would love to have you in Ann Arbor, Sean. We can show you it firsthand. I mean, it comes down to, I'm kind of not too worried because it's about the execution, like we said. So if you want to team up with me, that'd probably be a better approach.
Better than breaking into your garage at night while you're sleeping with like a hood and a pistol?
Yeah, I'd prefer we don't do that. I've got some egg-laying hens that would probably not be too happy with that.
Oh, I do too. Maybe we could have a hen fight.
Yeah, or even better, it's like interconnected. We come together and team up and work together on these systems.
Okay, I guess that sounds like a better idea. Yep, let's do it. All right. So I thought that's pretty cool. And so I guess where Brian Hayden is teaching his entrepreneurship class, that's University of Michigan, is that right? That's in Ann Arbor. That's where you are?
You got it. Go blue.
And that's where you went to school, and for some reason it's blue. I don't know. Like, I'm more of a Cal Bear, blue and gold,
You got it.
And we got a little bit extra gold on you there. And so you were in the same program that Brian Hayden was teaching, the founder of HeatSpring?
I don't think I officially did his program, but the entrepreneurship ecosystem at University of Michigan is big and very healthy. So we just connected through that in general. You mentioned blue and gold. We are maize and blue, which our joke is maize is an arrogant shade of yellow. So I get what you're saying.
All right.
And we're the Wolverines.
All right. Okay. Cal is the Bears. Go Bears.
We interrupt you for a very important announcement. Sean White's Solar and Energy Storage Podcast has been brought to you by Sean White's Solar and Energy Storage Podcast. That's right, Sean White is sponsoring his own podcast, and he wants to remind you to go check out some of his classes. You can go to SolarSEAN, that's Solar, SEAN.com, and then click on the links to check out his classes. You can check out his HeatSpring classes, and you can also hire him to teach classes for you, like at your company, something like that. Now back to the show.
So being an entrepreneur, I think, is a cool thing, and I don't understand why more people are not entrepreneurs. Throughout my whole life, I haven't really worked that much for other people. It's just by nature, that's how I am. And I could remember, getting like a regular job in the solar industry in 2008. And it just didn't last that long because I would get off work at I think it was 7 to 4, and I'd get off work and I'd be like, this is weird. I don't have anything to do. And so I started just developing my training business and promoting myself. And then pretty soon it's like I'm making 4 times more within a year just doing the training than I would have been doing being in the solar division at this roofing company. And there's been a couple of different times. At one point I was a kayak guide and I was working for Native Americans in Alaska. So I thought that was kind of cool, turning the tables. And, I've had a couple of other jobs there, and it was just kind of like little intermittent things that were kind of interesting, or, doing a little work for the family business in high school, stuff like that. But yeah, I've always just had that entrepreneurial gene. And for me, I would be sort of afraid to go work for some big company. Like I've had offers from like SunPower and Tesla, and it's just like, oh, all of a sudden I would give up all that I've worked for to build, and then I would go work for somebody else that could fire me because they had a bad day. Like if I got a job working for Tesla, I think Elon's famous for that. Like his employees are afraid to walk past him because he's known for just be going like, you're fired. And you did have like a regular job for a while. And I think the whole world could work with a bunch of entrepreneurs, really. Like people that are doing work as, working for a company, they're providing a service. Well, they could also be an entrepreneur. So if you're going to go hire somebody to do something, are you going to hire them as an employee? Or are you going to hire them as a contractor? And so as a contractor, that's kind of more entrepreneurial. In fact, the way that our world is working right now with all these people that are doing like app businesses, like Uber and Instacart and DoorDash, all that kind of stuff, that's entrepreneurial. Like these people work when they want to, they fix their cars up, they take deductions, all that kind of stuff. So I think that's kind of cool that there's, an entrepreneurial thing that's happening there. So anyway, I thought that's kind of cool that you have mentioned a few different times that you're an entrepreneur, and people that aren't entrepreneurs, you just have to ride the waves. It's like I know a lot of people that work for a lot of cool companies in the solar industry and the tech industry and other industries too. And they go from one job to another. A lot of times, like throughout their career, they might switch jobs 5 times, 10 times, something like that. I guess that's pretty common. And I think I remember hearing that if you go back a certain amount of decades, like maybe my grandfather's age, maybe even my parents, where it's a lot more common for them to just have, one single job. But I guess you could even say my parents were kind of more entrepreneurial, I guess, things like that, running their own business rather than working for somebody else's business. And maybe my grandparents to a certain degree, but it's kind of a cool thing. It's the American spirit, entrepreneurialism, finding out something. And like for me, I didn't notice that I was going to be a solar instructor. It was one thing led to the next, and that's kind of what evolved. And you have to be able to pivot. And so you're an entrepreneur, you're starting doing one thing, and then it leads to something else, and you put more energy into that, and then that just kind of leads you to where you are supposed to be.
Exactly. I agree with everything you said. I think entrepreneurship is very innate. I think you used the term gene. I think it is within people, and there's something intrinsic about it. It certainly has its challenges and is a roller coaster, but do what you love and you'll never work a day in your life. So very thankful I've been able to do this for 2 years, and frankly, I don't want to go back to corporate. It's got some good, but a lot of challenges, and I've found my calling and hope to be working on this the rest of my life.
Yeah, I was just thinking too, when you were talking about in the genes, like what about hunter and gatherers? If you're out there, they're kind of entrepreneurial. Like, I mean, maybe they do have some kind of chain of command in the tribe, but it's kind of entrepreneurial to go out there and, hunt your own food, gather your own berries and put them right in your mouth. Then they start making villages. Then they start having, grain silos. And then that's when you probably start to see more of people working for other people, I guess you could say that.
Yeah. Humans are very good problem solvers, and We know how to use technology and new ways of doing things to solve new problems. So I agree with you.
Great, great. Okay. So how about some other fun stuff to talk about? Let's see. You did some stuff in Africa?
Yeah, you got it. When I was at Our Next Energy, had a very fortunate opportunity to go study why nearly 1 billion people still live without access to electricity. Go turn off your service breaker and see how long you can last to experience that. Electricity powers our modern life, and living without it has a lot of difficulties. So I had a chance to go to Tanzania and Mozambique. They're on kind of the southeast side of the African continent. I went there for 2 weeks, but it felt like it was a lot longer and gave me a lot of great insights, and was essentially doing firsthand customer research and going out into some remote areas and learning what it's like to live without electricity and also trying to solve it. So we were doing some creative energy solutions. They were all personal, so on the smaller distributed size. Some of them were portable, and they all contained solar PV and LFP energy storage.
Great.
Still working on that endeavor, so happy to talk about that more. I've got a partner in Tanzania who I've stayed in touch with and kind of chipping away at this energy poverty problem, I would call it.
Okay. So I'm just looking over some notes here, and I thought maybe I'd ask you about what you thought about solar electricity being so much less expensive in Australia. Is that because the sun is brighter in the southern hemisphere? I know that what happens is the Earth's orbit is elliptical, and in the Australian summer, they are closer to the sun. And in the north latitudes where we are, in our summer, we're farther away from the sun. So is that why it's less expensive in Australia, you think? I was making that up. I don't think that's the reason. Because then that would mean in the winter, we would be doing a little bit better in North America than the Australian winter, southern hemisphere winter. But yeah.
Yeah. No, this question was related to, don't quote me on the exact numbers, but I saw a study that compared the United States and Australia and normalized installations on a per watt basis. So kind of accounting for the geographical differences you were talking about. And roughly speaking, a residential installation in the US, I think is in the $250 to $3 range. And
Per watt price.
per watt, yep.
And it's probably more expensive where I live because I'm living on one of the coasts where things are more expensive, like labor and housing and all that.
Yeah, and then again, quote me on the is much closer to $1, maybe $1.50 per watt.
Pretty much like half price or even less.
Yeah, exactly. And again, that's normalized on a per watt basis. And the US and Australia, they're certainly not the same country, but kind of a lot of similarities as far as development and labor standards and whatnot. But it's an interesting insight, and I think it speaks to the mentality taken for this technology. My understanding is solar in Australia is much more the norm versus the specialty exception. So I think the permitting and interconnection process is just a lot more streamlined there. And my guess is that kind of multiplies into just project management and timing. Time is money. Plus a couple other technicalities, like they don't have split phase electricity. So that's one less wire that has to be run in every house. I mean, it's not huge, but it does add up. So more so an interesting insight or question I kind of have been thinking about. And I think it really comes down to soft costs are really the way to make this stuff cheaper. And Australia's shown it can be done, and we can reach, sub $2 per watt if we want to.
Oh yeah, for sure. And I know that they are, closer to the manufacturing hubs and all that, but it's pretty cheap to ship stuff. So they also don't have all the tariffs and things like that. So that would make it a little bit less expensive for them too, but they've kind of just like gone all out on it. I think that as far as a country goes, that they have more solar installed per capita than any other place. And I think it's not even close. So
yeah,
good for them.
I'd believe it. Yeah, good for them. And I really just like to highlight that it can be done. There's a modern country doing it. They have their processes and permitting and labor standards and whatnot. But if we want to do this and move the Earth's energy system to sustainable energy, it doesn't have to be more expensive and seen as an alternative. It should be the norm and better, faster, cheaper.
Great, great. So what do you think? What would be a good term for solar and storage all in one? Should we call it solage or stolar? Something like that. I don't know. What do you think?
Yeah, you're bringing up another kind of interesting insight of mine. I think we are in the era similar to before automobiles had a name, and people were referring to them as horseless carriages. And where I'm coming from with that is, first of all, the systems I design almost always include solar and energy storage. It's just principles. It's what unlocks the most value, gives the outage resiliency, the list goes on. You're firming solar power. And I've just noticed that when I try and communicate this with the customer, sometimes I don't have the right language. Like, it's not solar and storage. They're DC coupled through the same inverter. So, like, what is the right term for that? Is it a solar battery? Is it solar plus storage? Stolage? I don't know if that one's going to catch on. Sorry, Sean.
Yeah, you could put storage, but then it sounds like a sore.
Yeah, exactly. So one term I've kind of coined is grid optional. And, we're not taking homes off grid. That doesn't make technical or economic sense in most areas, especially if you have a grid connection. But it's fundamentally a large solar array, a large energy storage system, technologies like microgrid interconnect devices. And I've found that grid optional tends to resonate with consumers. They understand it a little bit better. They understand the technology, but it's still grid first, if you will, i.e. it's without the grid, kind of like the term horseless carriage. So I think it just speaks to the time we're in with this technology, and that we don't even have kind of the right terminology, and someone needs to invent car or automobile for a solar battery. So you can do a little contest for your listeners.
I got an idea. Like, we used to call solar alternative energy, but now most of the capacity being installed, like by far, is what we used to call alternative energy, like solar and wind and stuff like that. So now what we need to call solar and storage is conventional energy. And then what we need to call fossil fuels and the old style stuff, we need to call that alternative energy. We'll just like flip it,
Yeah, I'm with you on that term. I do not like the term alternative energy because, again, it makes it sound like it's the exception and specialty and not as good.
It used to be the exception, it was still as good. It was more expensive, but now it's less expensive. So we should call fossil fuels and, the old way, the old grid, we should call that alternative.
Couldn't agree with
you
you
more. We
won.
We won the game. Congratulations, Solar Steve Sherman. We won.
Yeah, still got a few terawatts to go, but at least the race is going.
All right. So is there any other things that you want to cover with this podcast?
Yeah, I think I've just got one interesting story about living with this technology and being my own customer. I've got a not typical system in the sense that it's larger than most people need, frankly. But being Solar Steve Sherman, I covered my roof with photovoltaic. I've got 60 PV modules, 24 kilowatts on the roof. That's paired with 26 kilowatt hours of LFP energy storage. And I say this very humbly, but I'm currently sitting at a negative $589 balance with my utility. And one more caveat with that is that's inclusive of EV charging. So I'm basically, they're not going to pay me, but the accounting says I'm getting paid to drive on the sun. And I just like to share this because it shows solar, storage, EVs can be an awesome customer experience. They don't have to be more expensive. And this is exciting stuff that benefits people, planet, and our grid that we all share. So I think that's a good place to end, Sean. And thanks so much for having me.
Yeah. Do you have like gas go into your house, natural gas or anything like that?
Yes, I have natural gas only for central heating.
So that you could say that your extra solar energy goes to pay for that. Like as far as like your carbon debt goes. I know other people that do that too. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Combined with probably next year, I'm going to get a nice air source heat pump for heating and just cut that out of my life as well. But no, you're spot on.
Great, great. Well, thank you so much for being on the podcast, Solar Steve Sherman, Super Solar Steve Sherman. And thanks for listening, everyone. I had a great time talking to you. And where can people find you?
Yeah, our website is superiorenergysolar.com. And I'm a little old school, so I'm going to give my email. It is SZ as in zebra, Sherman, SHERMAN @gmail.com. I'm very passionate about this technology and industry, so anyone that would love to continue the conversation, please reach out. I am looking for co-founders as well, so if you're passionate about this, let's team up together.
All right, everyone. Thanks for listening to Shawn White's Solar and Energy Storage Podcast. To learn more, be like Solar Steve Sherman himself and go take one of Shawn's NABCEP exam prep courses. You can go to SolarSEAN.com and find out all the links. For instance, you could go to SolarSEAN.com/PVIP or your favorite NABCEP initial for the exam, and that's a good way to get to the class that you want to take, and you could get yourself certified. And so now, to finish off this podcast, we are going to listen to Solar Steve Sherman's AI rap song, Interconnected.
Woo! Let's get it collected. Solar on the block, we're all interconnected. Batteries charged, that's how we're protected. The people got the power and we won't be neglected. Kicking out the watts like a rooftop rebel. Panels in the sun, now we're taking it level. Grid goes down, yeah, we keep it steady. Lithium banks all primed and ready. No fossil fuels, we're breaking that chain. Clean juice running through my solar vein. From city to the farm, everybody's in the mix. Energy for all, yo, that's the fit. Interconnected, we shine together. Clean and clever in any way. Interconnected, the future's ours. From sunny streets to midnight stars. From the east to the west, microgrids unite. Kicking peak loads right out of sight. DC froze, then we flip to AC. Inverter humming like a sweet melody. Busting out watts like we're busting a rhyme. Sun up top and we're doing just fine. No blackouts, we just light up the night. Cause the power's in the people and that feels right. Who's got the sun? We got the sun. Who's got the power? Everyone. Who's gonna share? We're gonna share. Power to the people everywhere. Yeah, yeah. Interconnected, we shine together. Clean and clever in any weather. Interconnected, the future's ours. From sunny streets to midnight stars. Yo, no coal, no gas, no nuclear mess. We're building the grid that's powered by the best. Sun on the roof, battery on the side. Interconnected, we're along for the ride. Yo, no coal, no gas, no nuclear mess. We're building the grid that's powered by the best. Sun on the roof, battery on the side. Interconnected, we're along for the ride. Yo, yo. Yo, interconnected, we shine together. Clean and clever in any weather. And connected, the future's ours. From sunny streets to midnight stars. Yo, yo, yo. No coal, no gas, no nuclear mess. We're building the grid that's powered by the best. Sun on the roof, battery on the side. Interconnected, we're along for the ride. Yo, 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 yo.